For increasing numbers of people in Boston, this year's November election will start earlier, to be exact, on October 22nd. That's the beginning of the period for early voting, with the main election day on Tuesday, November 6th. To bring us up to date on the voting process and share some timely reminders is the Commissioner of the Boston Election Department, Dion Irish. Thank you very much for being with us, Commissioner.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Before we get to the technology, Commissioner, talk about how much the city's roles have grown in recent years. How many new voters that we have adding to the whole.
I think it's quite remarkable. We have roughly 700,000 residents in the city and 400,000 registered voters. So it speaks a lot. We have a lot of folks who are registered and eager to participate, I'm hoping, and that they turn out for early voting and for Election Day.
Well, the first thing people have to do is make sure they're registered. And a lot of people might think, well, I registered when I was 18, I don't have to do it again. But actually, it's not as simple as that.
No, and that's a great point. We are a very transient city, so registrations do need to be updated. We have folks who move within the city and sometimes forget to notify us, and also within the state. So it's important that you check on your registration. You can visit our website. There's a link there where it allows you to check on your registration, make sure it's up to date. If not, you need to update it by October 17th.
Now, what kind of things do people have to document to show that they can get registered?
Just need to show proof of their address. We need something that shows your name and your address, and that's all that you need. And you need to also be a citizen and affirm that as well.
And typically that could mean a utility bill, maybe?
A utility bill would work, a picture ID would work as well.
Now, we also have a fairly new phenomenon here called early voting. This is not just absentee people. This is people who live in the city all the time. They want to vote early. So how do you take advantage of that?
You take advantage of it by going to our many locations and the many days that are available to folks. As you mentioned earlier, October 22nd begins the early voting period. And from then on, we'll have City Hall as our primary location, Monday through Friday for 2 weeks, from 9 to 5. And on 4 occasions, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, City Hall will be open until 8 p.m. Then also on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll be out in at least 3 different neighborhoods at a time. So ultimately, you'll have 21 locations throughout the city, including plus City Hall, so 22 locations where you can vote early. Also, there's an early voting weekend included in this year's schedule. Last time we had early voting on Saturday. This year we have Saturday and Sunday, October 27th and 28th. We'll have 9 locations open simultaneously, 1 in every city council district. They'll be open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the key thing I want voters to remember is that any voter can vote at any voting location for early voting. Any Boston voter can go to any one of our locations that's convenient and cast your vote.
Now, there are some people whose first language is not English. Can the election department help them with any questions they have?
Absolutely. We have a multilingual team that'll be available at every single location. We also have devices that help with translations as well. So we're prepared for that. We know we're a diverse city. And we also will be translating the ballot questions. I think the state sends them out in English, and we'll translate them into several different languages so that voters are able to read without limitation and make their choice.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with Boston's election commissioner, Dion Irish. I know you're an election commissioner, so you cannot endorse candidates or anything else on the ballot, but just the blanket question here, why should people vote, especially if they're not really sold on this or that candidate?
You should vote because, number one, it's your right, and we are a constitutional democracy, which voting is an important exercise in any democracy, and the more that we vote, the stronger our democracy is.
Well, I know there are a number of elected offices on the ballot, and there's some competition for some of those, but talk about the ballot questions, because there are some important topics in those questions.
Yeah, there'll be 3 questions that are on everyone's ballot. In some parts of the city, there'll be some additional questions that are non-binding. But we'll talk about the 3 main questions. Question 1 talks about nurse staffing ratios. Question number 2 talks about a constitutional amendment relative to corporations and ability to regulate their campaign contributions. And question number 3 adds gender identity as a protected class as it relates to public accommodations in our state.
We should mention, if people want to find out more details, and especially about the deadline for registration, we should make sure they hear that
they should visit our website, which is boston.gov/election department.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Boston Election Commissioner Dion Irish.